Hey there, it's Chris Mack back again with episode 2 of Hey New Gun Owner. In this episode, I want to talk about mindset. Now, there's a lot of different people out there with views and thought processes of what they think mindset means, but I'm more so just wanting to pose a few questions of what being a gun owner, but more so what carrying a gun means and what that entails. The first question you should ask yourself is, can I mentally carry a gun? But more so, are you capable of using the gun for what it was intended for? What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk real quick about a legal aspect of if you draw your weapon but have no intention of shooting it, then that's brandishing a weapon and you can actually get in a lot of trouble for that. So whenever I took my concealed carry course here in Colorado, I was very firmly told that if you draw your weapon, you had better be pulling the trigger, otherwise the legal ramifications are going to hurt you more than the person you were trying to protect yourself from. So the question still remains of, do you think that you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, do you think you have it within you to draw your weapon and truly shoot and kill another human being? For me, that answer many years ago was no. As I said in my first video, I grew up a hunter, so having guns wasn't a question mark or a foreign concept, but having a pistol, having a concealed carry permit, carrying on a regular basis, and having the thought process and mindset of, yes, I could shoot and kill another human being, that changed for me when I got married. And what I mean by that is my wife didn't drive me crazy. What I meant by that was before I had a very misspent youth, so unfortunately I did spend some time in the bar scene and the bar fight scene, and you win some, you lose some, but at the end of the day, I grew up in a place and a time of if you had a disagreement with somebody, it's you, me, outside, you'd go beat the snot out of each other and loser bought the winner a beer. It was no big deal. Not in today's society where like, oh, you said something mean to me on Instagram, I'm going to shoot you. So my thought process changed because it wasn't any longer of just like, oh, I got into a fight or whether it was my fault or not, because it happens. Anyhow, it wasn't a question of, oh, you got into a fight and you lost. It was you got into a fight and lost, and now you're not able to protect your wife. So for me, that's when things shifted in my mind of could I, should I have a better means to protect myself, but more so protect my wife. And that's also something that you see with a lot of ladies who conceal carry. They're not necessarily in that thought process or mindset of, oh yeah, I could shoot somebody. And then later on they have kids and they're like, oh yeah, no, if someone were to threaten my child, of course I would shoot them. So I feel like everyone in their own life at some point is going to have that, pun intended, that trigger that makes them go, yep, no, I could totally pull the trigger. So that's the first question on mindset of, could you pull the trigger? The next question that I have is, are you aware of your surroundings and are you aware of your abilities? Now, some people in other videos would call this tactical awareness. So if you want to look up more videos on that, definitely tactical awareness would be the question that you want to put into the search engine there. But I don't want people to get caught up of like, oh, you need to be on like situation or setting red or go or hyper vigilant all the time, because then you're not going to have a life. But I think that if you are going to be a gun owner and carry a gun, you need to have a slightly more heightened awareness and also be willing to get out of situations before they turn bad. My wife and I have been out to restaurants and we have noticed things that didn't make us comfortable and didn't make us feel right and went, this situation could turn bad, check please. And there's nothing wrong with getting out of a situation before it goes bad. I also want to kind of lead this into another topic of knowing your surroundings. And bad guys have a process just like good guys do. My wife and I, one day, were coming out of the store. It was later in the evening. I did a lot of things right, but you can't always be 100% right all the time. And that's kind of what I'm leading into this. But anyhow, we came out of the store. I had parked the truck under a light. We were walking down the part of the parking lot that was lit. This side over here wasn't so much, so we were staying more on the lit side. And I popped out of the darkness on the other side and yelled out, hey, can I get some help? And some people might say, oh, the dude was just asking for some help. As this progresses, you'll see. Anyhow, me being aware of going the place that we were, the time of day, the direction that the voice was coming from. I spun and turned this guy and looked him right in the face and said, "What can I help you with?" And you could tell I completely caught him off guard because he wasn't expecting an answer or response. What he was doing was testing to see if we were paying attention, or if we were going to ignore him, or if we were buried in our phones not paying attention at all, and if he was capable of closing the gap to getting closer to us. I already made myself not an easy target because I spun, looked him in the face, and said, "What can I help you with?" And he started to stammer, and my car broke down, and "Do you have any cash for the bus?" He truly had to think out an answer because he wasn't prepared for that. Now, my wife being with me, both of us being concealed carry permit holders, and us having the foresight to think through, hey, if this situation were to happen, what we'd do. It only took me already holding her hand, just how I moved my hand, that she knew that I was directing her to stand behind me. She was helping back me up towards closer and closer to the truck, getting the gap more between this gentleman and myself. And I was also looking at him and being able to see what he was doing. And I said, "Hey, sorry, with the day of credit cards, I haven't carried cash in years." And while saying that, I was also starting to clear a garment towards my handgun. Was I pulling it? No, but I was definitely giving a noticeable gesture of, this is not going to end well for either one of us. And once the gap was far enough apart between us and we were close enough to the truck, I was able to then turn. My wife and I headed towards the truck, and then this guy yells out very deliberately, "So sorry to have bothered you," which to me triggers that he was calling off. There was probably somebody else that I didn't even notice. But between me catching him off guard, him having to stammer for an answer, the fact that we were backing up, the fact that I was clearing garment and he was able to know that there was a weapon potentially in play here, this guy knew I was an easy target, and bad guys look for easy targets. My wife and I were not that. However, I want to also bring this into the next subject, which is, don't think that by owning a gun you are safe, because there is a concept out there called the 21-foot rule. I'm going to leave a link below to a video about that. Long story short, there have been lots of studies and research that have shown that if somebody has a knife and they are within 21 feet of you, odds are they are going to bury that knife into you before you have an opportunity to clear leather, get sight alignment, and pull the trigger. So video on that below, so that way this video doesn't get any longer than it is. Last but not least, I want to leave you all with some homework, okay? Yeah, I said homework. Like I said, this is a video series, and I said at the beginning that while I could do some talks and some teaching, I would rather leave the teaching to professionals and just give you my insight and advice to, this is where I've gathered my information from. So the videos I want to link down below is one from John Lovell at Warrior Poet Society. And he is interviewing a gentleman who was involved in an active shooter situation in Texas. It goes over a lot of situations and scenarios and thought processes of getting ready for a gunfight, being mentally aware for a gunfight, what happens afterwards, because this gentleman then found himself where the cops showed up and were like, "Hey, sir, you need to put the gun down," because when the cops show up, they don't know who the good guys are or the bad guys are. So another one is by Mick at Carry Trainer, and he does one that's kind of on mindset, not quite so on mindset, but he has a lot of great information in this little video. Both of these guys, I highly recommend that you go to their channels and subscribe and check out their other videos as well, but these are two really good ones to kind of get started off with. I do want to leave you with a little bit of a comparison between the two. So first, John is a Christian like myself, so a lot of his talks, he doesn't bash you over the head with the Bible, but he definitely does do a lot of his teaching and information from a biblical perspective. Mick, on the other hand, is nowhere near that. He might be a Christian, but he definitely does curse a lot, and he's very blunt and in your face with his information. So while he might, through whatever source of media he's using, he might call you an idiot via media, but he's doing it from a place of teaching and a place of love and a place of, hey, I'm telling you the truth. You can wake up and learn it, or you can continue to be an idiot. Anyhow, whenever it comes to me and this video series, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any specific questions, please leave those down below in the comment section. And because, just a heads up, YouTube is quite anti-gun, so if you're trying to learn about guns, your favorite YouTubers, I highly recommend you subscribe and hit that notification bell, just because that might be the only way you find out that their next video is out. All right, thanks very much, and as always, it's Chris Mack.